'Cause I'm riding the pine, riding the pine. It's Chronicles of the Fourth Line. I'm just sitting on a bench with two good friends of mine. That's why I'm riding the pine, riding the pine. With Punchy Langer in summertime.
And hello, everybody. Here we are, episode number 26 of Ride and Pine, Chronicles of the Fourth Line, brought to you by the Hockey House. And this week, we're talking rivalries. There's a good old Norris one over my shoulder there. We got a Sen in the house. We got a Leaf in the house. That's a Battle of Ontario. It's the Fourth Line. How you boys doing tonight?
Yeah, good. Rivalries.
Yeah, good. Went to work
We
today.
got the old school Sens, the old school. Ran out, got into your everyday life. So here we are. It's been a while. We haven't seen you guys in a bit. Still locked down. Can't do nothing about it. We're stuck at home like we have been now for over a week. So how's home life? Starting to get to you yet, or how we doing?
Yeah, a little bit.
Just being locked inside, eh?
I had an episode yesterday, but anyways,
It's a bit.
we've moved on.
We got a little bit of a vacation going on here, anyways. You got your whole family chopped down like we are. You got to be creative and try to find things to do. But we got rivalries coming up. I got a rivalry going on between my kids. They're their own little rivals there.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was always a rival of my older brother and my younger brother. I was a nemesis, I guess, of my younger brother. 9 years difference. But here we are. So, what do we got for warm-ups this week?
Do you guys have pets? Do you like animals? I don't think I do.
I mean,
I had a pet.
Yeah, I have a pet. One.
I don't have one now.
No, yeah, well, there's, it's nice to have a pet, either a cat or a dog. I mean,
Because
for
that's a
me,
rivalry.
well, yeah, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Cat
Well,
and dog people.
I guess, I mean, animals are animals, they can all be trained to do what you need them to do.
I remember I snuck a cat. I snuck a cat into my house under my shirt. I told I was living with my grandmother at the time, and I came running in the door, and I found this kitten. I found this kitten, and I had it tucked under my shirt. And I come inside, and I'm holding my stomach, and my grandma's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Oh, grandma, I got hit in the stomach. Hit in the stomach." I run into my room, open the door, let the cat out, runs underneath my bed, and for about 2 weeks, I had this thing living in my closet. I was feeding it. I was like young, man. I was like probably 11, 12. Yeah, I
Those are more like
named it after a girl I had a crush on. Yeah, it was.
Cindy.
No, it
Michelle.
was Lucci.
I'm not even gonna start with the cat pussy joke. So
You could go all day with them.
all day.
But yeah, so I had a cat. Then I found out I was allergic to cats. Within the next couple of weeks, my arm all puffed out and everything. Yeah, it was not good. Found out I was allergic to cats. So so I don't like cats anymore. I had a dog. Did you ever have a dog growing up when you were a
I had
kid?
dog. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I had
my
a
first
couple.
pet.
What was his name?
Casey.
That's a good name for a dog.
Boz.
Boz. That's a great name for a dog. You know what's not a good name for a dog?
David.
Cat.
Dog.
Dog.
Yeah, my dad decided that we were going to name the dog Dog. DAWG.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
not the great. I always liked when guys' dogs was like a person's name, like
Yeah, like Mike
Yeah.
or Dave or
yeah.
well,
Rick or something.
Floyd.
Yeah.
Richard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If my
Yeah.
friend's cat's name was Bruce.
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 That's-
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
good.
Human
That's good.
Pet name.
Yeah, like bad human name. So
Yeah.
like you can't even believe your parents would name your child that, let alone
That's right.
like a pet.
Brucey. Yeah, no, I want to name my next pet something like that. My kids like are always getting dibs on naming the pets, and we got a cat named Daisy. We had two birds that were a nightmare, called Salt and Pepper. Anyway,
What
I was
what do
like,
you what do
I,
you do with a bird, really?
well,
Like,
man, they can be trained. They can. You just need a bit of time and patience, and dedication. But man, they just chirped all fucking day and were annoying as fuck up bird shit on the wall, and
but
they,
Yeah.
it's like if you took a fish, when you get a bag at the store with the
yeah,
goldfish in it,
yeah,
and then put the fish in the bag, and then put the bag in the lake.
that's right, that's right.
Like, so it's just torture. It's
Yeah,
constantly watching other birds and fish
yeah,
do stuff, and you're just sitting there and you can't do anything.
yeah, yeah. I know. It was like my boy. Yeah, he was a bird enthusiast. Desperately wanted some birds. I'm like, no, bud, like exactly what you're saying. Like birds are meant to fly. You put them in a cage, it like
Yeah.
defeats the purpose of life. Like
Yeah, like
why
tell me
would you
now.
do that as a bird enthusiast? No, I want birds. I want pet birds. Blah blah blah.
Pretty
Well,
bird.
he saved up. He saved up for. Anyways, it just turned into a nightmare. But don't get birds, people, unless you're dedicated. Tell them. Yeah,
Or reptiles.
we did.
Reptiles. I can't.
No.
Yeah.
Do
No.
reptiles?
I
I had
couldn't
a
do
gecko
reptiles.
and I had a gecko and
I
a
couldn't do like a snake. Like I had a buddy who had a couple snakes.
yeah.
I just felt
No, I
weird at
couldn't do
his.
that.
I didn't even want to be at his house. I was just freaked out.
My
But the
gecko,
snakes.
my gecko died because in the summertime I collected my own black crickets in the field behind my house, country boy. And then in the wintertime, I could only buy green crickets to feed the gecko from the store, and he wouldn't eat them, and he starved to death. Yeah,
Oh, terrible.
yeah, man, it's fucked up. Anyways,
It's a
I had
tough.
this girl in high school, and she paid like $500 for a hedgehog and called it
damn,
corduroy. And then I came here, and I'm like, look at all this dead money all over the road.
that's right, eh? $500,
Yeah,
is
because
that
it's an
right?
exotic. If you're gonna go exotic pets, then go full Joe exotic.
Yeah,
Get yourself a
Yeah.
zoo.
Yeah.
You
Couple
know,
full
tigers.
Joe, full Joe.
get a Prince Albert, wear cowboy boots, carry a gun around. You know.
It's the way to do it.
Well, the thing about pets are kind of funny is so dogs and cats like they're carnivores. So you have this animal wandering around your house. If you died, it would eat you.
That's right.
That's how
Yeah,
much it cares about you. Because if you were dead, it would just eat you. And
Yeah.
I don't understand how people spend so much money on something that really you get nothing out of. You have to look after it, vet bills, feed it, and if you die before it, it will eat you.
Yeah.
eventually,
No,
eventually.
no, no, no. I've had experience, not experience. Well,
What?
that sounded really bad. No, okay. So a friend of mine, he,
He died.
his dad passed away. His dad passed away, and he lived on his own, and the dog did eat him.
You know,
Start chewing on you.
parts of him.
It was a closed casket. He had been he had been dead
Gnawed on.
for he had been dead for a while. He had been dead
Yeah,
for
well,
a
that's
few
right.
days,
Like the dog has
and
nothing to do with.
that is
Yeah.
exactly what had happened. He had two dogs, and they ate parts of him. So it's sad, it's crazy, but you're absolutely right.
Dogs get eat.
You know.
It's a one-way ticket.
And then there's these lunatic people that think they're like people, and they call them fur babies and go, "Oh well, I know what it's like. I don't have kids, but I've got dogs."
Well, remember
Yeah, no,
You know.
yeah,
in the airport coming back, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, there was just in our oversized luggage area. There was just dogs everywhere. I'm thinking,
Lunatics.
yeah.
you guys
There's more pets than hockey bags that came
Yeah.
out of there.
doing?
Like,
Put
where
your
are you
pet
going if
next-
you're taking
yeah,
your dog with you? I know.
Yeah. Like, I get
Okay.
the family vacation, but leave the pet at home, people. Like, I mean, anyways.
See, that's the thing that's good about a cat is you can fill up their dish and leave them, and they're fine, right? Because they can come in and dogs, they will eat everything you put out in one go, and they're dumb.
I think
Yeah.
dogs are some of the stupidest animals on this planet. I really do.
Yeah,
People,
you got it.
there's
You got to
dog
do the
people
right
are gonna
ones.
yell at me.
There's definitely different breeds. There's different breeds.
Yeah,
Let's just put it that way. I've always, if I were to ever get a dog, I'd get a bulldog. I'd get a bulldog and I'd name him Neely. That would be the only addition to this family, if anything. No cat for me. Like, oh, I'll break
yeah.
out in hives. Can't deal with that. So, anyways, there's one rivalry out of the way. We got dogs and cats. They're big rivalries. Before we move on to the first period, though, us being a hockey podcast, don't mean to bring it down too much, but got to pay our respects. Today, Hockey World lost a pretty amazing guy in Jimmy Hayes, 31-year-old player, originally drafted by the Leafs. Won the NCAA in 2010. Played 7 seasons on like 4 teams. Brother Kevin Hayes, survived by his wife and a couple of kids there. So it's just really sad to see. Just want to send love from the fourth line out to their family and the hockey world in general. He's cousins with the Kachuk boys and a lot of big names in hockey, and losing a very special guy today. So we just want to say that before we move on to the first period. And with that, we're on to the first period. Here we go.
I just wanted to, before you jump in there, I also want to mention that a superstar Hall of Famer for the Rangers and for the Summit Series Team Canada died this week. His name is Rod Gilbert. And obviously, if you didn't grow up in the 70s, you would have no idea who he is, but he was a star. Look him up.
Gilbert. I probably recognize the name.
Rod
Yeah,
Gilbert.
legend in Rangers history.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. So a few losses to the hockey community this week. I didn't know that. I knew about. I read about Jimmy, and I thought, oh shoot, is that? And I couldn't remember the Hayes that was playing his brother, right? And
Yeah, I thought it
Is
was
it his younger brother plays for Philly.
Yeah.
His younger brother
Yeah.
plays for Philly.
Play, man. I've seen
He used to
him
play for the
make some
Rangers, too.
Yeah, incredible plays, man. He can bring it.
Yeah, and Jimmy played for the Hawks Bruins. Finished off with the Panthers and the Devils. But yeah, anyways,
Yeah. All right.
respect to them, condolences to the families. Moving on,
Okay.
and we're dropping the puck on the first.
Oh, okay. I thought we're in the second now. That was just a face-off. Stoppage of play. Right. Well, probably. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna run over some of the more classic rivalries, but for me, growing up, we had a rivalry. My hockey club. It was interesting though because I played in a. So it was a small town, right? Small community outside of Ottawa, and we had a league of other small communities outside of Ottawa. But our 2 closest towns weren't on that circuit. They played in like the Ottawa circuit. But every year we would play one exhibition game against each of them. And man, I tell you what, they were killer games. Like I remember, yeah. Anyways, I remember just high intensity, always having to like keep your head up, or else, yeah, pay the price. But what about you guys? Do you have any hockey, like junior hockey rivalries? So Embrun and Metcalf were the 2 rivalry towns that we only got to play once a year.
Ours was Meriden and St. Catharines, because I played in this crazy butch league. It was like midget juvenile, so it's like from the age of like 16 to 20,
Yeah.
more or less. It's like
16
junior
to 19.
junior B age,
Yeah.
more or less. And so I played for Meriden, the Meriden Bulldogs, and Meriden is like a little section of St. Catharines. So there's a St. Catharines team, but then our little area of town, we had our own sports teams. So that was a crazy rivalry with us because it's like crosstown rivals kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's similar to like the Admiral Swarm type deal, like
Yeah.
crosstown.
Yeah.
And then I guess just high schools, man, like high school hockey and
No, I
sports,
have
right?
junior.
Yeah, I was going to bring up
Junior.
high school.
Yeah, don't talk. Is it junior? Okay, you've done your junior now. Quiet. Let's move over to that.
Okay, all right.
Obviously, high school rivalries next on the
Yeah,
list.
it's on the list.
Jesus Christ.
Well, the big ones for junior were Peterborough and Oshawa, obviously, because they're close, like 40 minutes up the highway. Oshawa's kind of gritty as well, and Peterborough's got some grit to it, so they were always big rivalries. Peterborough Belleville, the Bulls, when they come to town, that was always a good game because they're close as well.
Yeah.
And 67s were another one too,
Yeah.
mostly because the coaching. Because the Ottawa had Brian Kilray and Peterborough had Dick Todd, and they're both like
The two
were like
best.
mega coaches in the OHL back then. But in minor hockey, like
Minor. Yeah.
we kind of had everybody as a rival because everybody hated Peterborough from my because we were pretty good, but we were just something would always happen, and
Well, that's what I remember.
it's just
about playing
people
the
coming
big
to town.
city towns, man. Yeah, like when we played. But I don't remember ever having to play like Peterborough or because I think Peterborough.
Because
I
you would have
think
been out of our
Toronto.
leap.
Oh yeah, hugely.
You
But
would have been
we
in your own league.
travel that way to get into like minor hockey tournaments, right? You know, we
Yeah.
went to Niagara, like Toronto, fucking, probably Markham and anyways.
Vaughan, Ajax,
Ajax.
Yeah.
Remember the Vaughan Kings?
Ajax, yeah.
Yeah.
Vaughan, Ajax, Whippy, Pickering.
Yeah, Whippy.
There we go. There you go. That's what I'm.
Yeah,
talking
that's the
about.
whole
Okay.
corridor in
Guelph.
Toronto,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Guelph's
Right.
north, but yeah, we didn't play that much.
Yeah.
Like, what was that one team? There's Bowmanville. There was like,
Stevensville.
no, because we're all east. We're east of Toronto, right? So there's all
Yeah.
those teams there.
Well,
So you start getting to Barrie and Guelph.
One time we hosted a tournament and like we were a small town, right? And like we didn't have all the rubber everywhere in the rooms. We had like roll it out rubber mats around the benches, and like one mat out to the rink sort of thing. Like one mat along the bench and the benches, blah blah blah. And the big city boys, man, would complain when they came out. What the fuck, you guys on welfare out here? Blah blah blah. I remember hearing that over and over and over.
Because the rubber doesn't touch the walls in the room.
Yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't like, when we went to the city, it was like fucking decked out in comparison to what we had.
Yeah. That's all right,
Right.
though.
Okay. All right. So growing up, probably biggest rivalry was Canada USSR. At the time, right? Dad would tell me vividly about the tournament and how Canada really got shocked about how fucking good the Russians actually were.
This is
and-
72, right?
yeah. This is all the I mean, outside of growing up being a Leafs fan, I got thinking, who were the Leafs rivals back in the day, and I can't remember. I just really remember trying to watch the games with my dad and always falling asleep.
Yeah, me too.
Listening to it as much as I could. But yeah, so the Canadian Summit Series, but ever since then, I had like this admiration for Russia. Dad said they had this like the best goalie in the world played for Russia. They had some real snow. What was it?
Telechak.
Telechak, yeah. And they had some real, because Dad, although a big, massive man and really could, because he was a football player, right? And hockey was just a sort of like pastime. But if I'm sure he wanted to apply himself, he could really fucking hurt somebody, man. But he had admiration for the Russians because, you know, they were about playing the game. It wasn't fucking about hitting and fighting and all this hooking and clutching and grabbing. Like, these guys went out there and skated you into the ice. They
And they had a
passed the
system.
puck, like,
Yeah.
played like they played like a fucking unit.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah, they trained and played like a team.
you
It
know,
wasn't give it to Phil Esposito in his fur coat and he'll
No.
score 100 goals standing in front of that.
I was smoking a cigar.
It's smoking a
drinking
cigar,
beer,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
And like these guys were in the military. They were the Red fucking Army,
Yeah.
right? This was
Yeah,
not
yeah.
some fucking ramshackle show here, right?
No.
These guys were here to play. Anyways, so you know, during the Canadian Cup tournaments, you know, it always came down to Canada and Russia for me. You know, Finland. It was the Canada Cup, right? You know.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, right before the World Cup, it was the Canada
Yeah.
Cup every
It's the
7
Easton's
years,
Canada
right?
Cup.
7 years, wasn't it?
It's every
Was it
4 years,
Was
roughly.
it 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Roughly, right?
Starting in
Yeah.
76, and then I think the last one was what? 90?
I can't even remember. Yeah.
I think it was 90 or something.
But you know, and Dad spoke about the Russians winning the Canada Cup, and we wouldn't give it to them. Like, no, we're
Oh, that was in 81.
no, this is the Canada Cup actually.
Yeah.
Okay, we're holding on to this.
So there was some dude in like Saskatchewan or someplace that made a replica to present to the Russians because that was
Yes.
kind of a dick move to,
Yeah.
we're not, you
Yeah.
won, but we're not giving you our trophy.
That's right. That's our
It says our name on the trophy.
That's right.
It's kind of like wrestling. It's like wrestling. It's like no one can win it but us.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's like Hogan. It's like
fixed.
Hogan. Yeah. And then there was the big screw job, and it was like, wait a minute.
Wait.
Wait.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Bret Hart's spitting on the trophy.
So yeah, that was I found that interesting. I didn't quite know how to sort of take that as a Canadian because, you know, Dad always spoke about how, you know, he playing with honor and blah blah blah, and I was like, oh well, that's not honorable. It's like
That's dishonorable.
Yeah. It's not honorable at all.
actually the opposite. But anyways, right. So then you know, the USSR broke up and the Cold War started happened, and then America started showing up on the scene. So Canada, America became the next sort of rival in the hockey world for me. Anyways, I'm sure as like most Canadians, and then, you know, blah blah blah. There's a whole history there, but I won't get into the men's. But I wanted to mention how fucking bitter the fucking women's national team's rivalry is in comparison to the men's. Man, those women
Oh, between USA and Canada?
each other with
Yeah.
like, distaste and like
Yeah,
utter
they're not
disgust,
fans.
man. No way.
Play each other like a zillion. They're like they're kind of like the All Blacks in like Australia.
Yeah.
Because they don't play really. Well, I mean, that's not a good comparison, but they don't play anybody else, and nobody else is good.
That
And
is
they
a
play
good
in all-
comparison.
They play
I think
against each
that's
other
a
all the
good
time.
comparison. I think that's a good comparison.
No, because
Well,
there's
South
South Africa and
Africa,
England,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
In France and
Yeah, but
in women's hockey, it's two countries. It's
That's
two horse
it.
race.
Yeah. And
True enough.
like I think it was one Olympics where Canada had won gold, and there was an interview in the changing room with the girls, and Haley Wickenheiser and I can't remember who else. She like quickly told this story about how they heard that the Americans had the Canadian flag on the floor and how they all were all spitting on it and cutting it up with their skates and yada yada yada. And she's like, "We just want to know if you want us to come over there and sign it for you, you know, after winning." I think it like whatever Olympic gold or World Cup or whatever it was, you know, and yeah. So yeah, no, the women's. You got any women's memories? Yeah, see the women, man. it was
Well, like
a
I have a different memory of women's hockey from
I
like
think
with a
there's a
rivalry involved.
IAAF Women's Championship going on right now.
Yeah, it's right
Yeah.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
Canada had a big win yesterday, actually, in that.
I saw the game against. Ooh, they played four
So
nights
Finland.
ago.
Yeah, they played
Finland. That
against
was it.
Finland the other
Yeah,
night.
they
Yeah.
won 4-3. Yeah. Did you guys see? Oh, anyway, sorry. There was another game someone posted on Facebook. Oh, Billy Bartlett. Thank you, Billy.
Yep.
He posted it was like a Canada U.S. I want to say like
Yeah,
Canada.
we posted it on the hockey house as well. No, it's the exact same. I was going to get to that talking about it
Okay.
later, but
Okay.
it's the same outfit that did the USA Canada that Langer and I were a part
Oh,
of.
right.
It's the
Right. Yeah, yeah,
same
yeah.
thing. So this year,
Okay.
because they can't come over, they did it in Toronto. Unbelievable game. Did you watch it?
My God, man. Canada came back from
From 7-1, they were losing 7-1.
well, it was 8-2 and I actually tuned out at 8-2. I was like, yeah.
Is there
Tuned
anybody
back
on
in at 25 seconds. It was 8-all.
Well, yeah. Well, like so, it's
Frank
the same.
Kajula is the only NHLer headlining in the show.
Well,
Who is it? Are they all jobbers?
Konopka was the captain. Konopka was
did he?
captain. It's the
Okay.
same. Remember when we went for a skate with Konopka Langer
Yeah.
with Zenon? It's that same group of guys, pretty much.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's like
Like Byron phrase.
Kevin Noble. Well, this year there's Drake Kajula. He was on Team USA, and then there's a couple guys that play semi-pro that were playing as well that are over in Germany, and Mike Budd, and he was one of the captains. Yeah, I don't know. It's not as
Jobbers.
it's not as big a lineup as when they
Saturday
came over
afternoon
here.
wrestling.
But it was a great game. Absolutely great game to watch, and it was all for charity. Keith Primo was coaching one of the teams.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then
Sausage finger.
that was Gooch's event that was on.
Right.
It was a good game to watch.
It was. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I actually gave the Hockey House a shout out in the amongst the presentation of the whole thing, which was kind of cool.
No
It was
way.
yeah, it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
Hockey House, New Zealand.
Yeah, gave a shout out right on the telecast to us, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh,
Pretty
Wasn't
neat.
it mostly Canadian Canada Hockey House?
yeah.
No.
Right.
No, it was us. It was us. But no, that was a really cool game. It's really cool to be a part of that too, man. It's coming back next year, and we're gonna have a chance. The Hockey House is gonna have a chance to be involved. They got a outdoor game coming next year in Queenstown, which is pretty unreal.
That's exciting.
That'll be cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Train back on the rails. Let's jump to my next rivalry here. This one sort of, for me, was sort of spawned when I learned about geography. But Finland and Sweden, I learned that
Oh,
was
yeah.
like the Scandinavian sort of North American, rivalry.
To ask Marku about that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's classic.
Yeah.
Your final a few years ago when Finland and Sweden were in the finals. I think Kasperi Kapanen scored the winning goal in overtime, but that game was insane because for those
Yeah.
countries, because they're right
Well,
next door.
Yeah.
Sweden used to dominate, and now Finland just it's not. Well, they've beaten them legitimately. I think a few times, but generally, I find Sweden's got the edge. Finland's like the hard-working unit team, whereas Finland's always like finesse and shooting, a lot of like showboating. And
Sweden, yeah.
they're like the Golden Knights. You just want to fucking punch in the face.
Yeah.
They're always so pretty and shit. Anyways. Right. Okay. And this was a weird one. Tell me your thoughts on this. So, back in the day, Czechoslovakia was a country in the Hockey Nation.
Yeah, they were a good team.
Yeah, they won the World Cup or the World Championship the Olympic gold and something else all in 1 year. I remember I was over. It was 98, I think, or 99. I remember I was overseas and I was trying to chat up a Czech girl. But anyways, it didn't work, unfortunately. Um,
A for effort.
well, I walked away when she's like, "Yeah, Canada's nothing in comparison to the Czech and hockey." I was like, "Yeah, okay, this is over." Too personal now. So, anyways, Czechoslovakia went through some sort of fucking separation, and now there's the Czech Republic and Slovakia. And that's got to be a weird sort of a fucking rivalry, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you were one country
Yeah.
and now you're one country named the first half of the whole country name, and the second country is named the second half of the country.
It'd be like if Quebec separated.
Well,
Canada and Quebec.
I'm probably taking
Yeah,
a
that
bit
would
too
be-
long here on all my shit, but I'll mention one
No,
more.
no
rivalry.
worries.
We're moving into the second period.
We actually have another a viewer, Chase Coolin, who's
Oh.
looking in, and he's throwing out the Minnesota Golden Gophers versus the University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux Hawks.
All right. Yeah. Another rivalry.
Yeah, college hockey.
And
Okay.
NCAA college hockey.
College hockey. I
Shout
never
out
paid any
Coolin.
attention to that. All I knew is that they wore full cages.
Oh, Coach
While CHL players were half fight.
Yeah.
Coach Dwayne Finch is on here too,
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
and he said the women's team, the coach of the Finland's women's team is picking them to win the world championships in 3 years.
All right.
Well, that's a legitimate call. The way they played against Canada
Yeah.
was, like
It was
they
a solid
were-
game.
It was a solid game. Okay, last rivalry I'll mention outside of the last one will be, man, I've never seen a more vicious rivalry, like physically, than Montreal versus Quebec City. Like the
Yep.
Nordiques versus the Habs, man. Some of those games, I remember, like being a bit disturbed about the violence on the
Yeah.
ice. Just a little bit.
Because all of those took place in the 80s too, eh? 70s, 80s, 60s.
Yeah.
When hockey was hockey and men were men. They-
Yes,
When you thought you still had a chance to make the NHL as a 35-year-old,
that's right.
because you didn't really have to do a lot of training or anything.
That's right. Well,
If you could smoke, drink beer, and make a breakout pass.
that's right. Well, have a good shot. Be able to take a hit and a punch. Probably some pretty good. Anyways, and then of course, my personal favorite, and we'll end on this is fucking Sens Toronto Battle of Ontario. God damn it! I've never been more frustrated in my fucking life with this rivalry, and it like the late 90s, early 2000s, like
That was the peak.
the Leafs fucking owned our ass.
3 playoffs in a row.
Oh, it was.
And Ottawa had a great team.
oh,
yeah.
Well, at least did too, but that was intense.
Yeah, those were intense rivalries.
Yeah.
And you
Cujo
had,
versus Lalim.
yeah. Gu-
What?
that's-
That's who it was. And then Joe, what was it? I think it was Joe Nieuwendyk that basically like ran Lalim out of town with 2 quick goals, and
yeah,
it was like Game 7 in Toronto from
Yeah.
garbage.
Oh.
That was the end of that.
yeah. Sorry, Lalim. Yeah. The one thing I will mention was, and it may have been in the playoffs, but we were playing. Toronto one game, and Sundin went to take a slap shot or a wrist shot, and his stick snapped in his hands, and he got so fucking mad he threw his stick up into the crowd, or what was left of his stick.
Yeah.
And then
I think he got suspended for that.
or did he?
He got a game for it or something. I remember it was a
Something,
big
like-
deal.
He said he paid for dinner. He sent them like dinner money or some shit like that. Is what Don Cherry say, or that's what I remember.
That
corner
was
to
like
corner.
Domi and Neil going toe to toe all the time too, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
well,
So I know where you're going with
yeah.
this. You're going to talk about
So-
number 11, right?
So, my man, fucking Al Frosen.
Alan Fredson.
That's right. Well, he always donned the golden fucking afro, man. Like just golden curly hair everywhere, man. You
Two
know,
Swedes.
like the golden knight, the pretty boy. Anyways, I think it was the next game. I think it was the playoffs, or it was the next time we played Toronto. Alfie broke his stick taking a shot or trying to take a shot and went to fucking throw his stick. Everybody knew exactly what he was doing, made the motion, and then just faked the throw.
Yes,
and
I
then
remember that.
dropped it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Everybody fucking chuckled, man. I think even Sundin had a little bit of a smirk on his face
Yeah.
on the bench. when he
Oh, they're
saw it.
buddies. They sit in a boat and fish together in Sweden in the summer.
That's
So.
right. That's right. That's right. I thought it was pretty classy,
Yeah.
classy move. You know, I'll never forget that. But and
And
it was
if
the
you-
first time I seen Alfredson have a little bit of personality on the ice. you
Yeah.
know?
And if you want to take it further, if you think he wouldn't do it, you know, there's a good piece of footage where he took a slap shot at Scott Niedermayer before he went to the bench.
Yes.
Remember that?
That's right. Yes.
Round up the last
I remember
second, he
that.
turned and
Yeah.
fired it at Niedermayer. I was like, oh, okay.
I was just trying to dump it in. Like, oh yeah, it's on, Alfie. It is on.
Through the
He was
player.
fucking pissed, man. They were all man. I remember that. All right, and the fucking first period. Let's go. Second period action. Hit it.
All right. That was a good first period, though.
Yeah, you went from like grassroots all the way to the NHL. It was good.
Yeah, it was good. Well,
Cheers, boys.
I'm bringing out quizzes. It's been a while
All
since
right.
we've done a good quiz.
All right.
So I'm gonna go with just mono player rivalries in the NHL. Pretty current players. I'm gonna give you one. You tell me who his rival is.
Okay, just promise me there is no Ovechkin Crosby question in here. Because that's
there's one there.
okay. So that's about as sure as the All Blacks winning every game
Well,
they play.
well, now you know what the answer is for Ovechkin when I get to it. Let's just start there. Ovechkin, Crosby, done. Bob Probert.
That's a tough one.
Marty McSorley.
Craig Cox, Dave
Donald
Brown,
Brashear.
Ty Domi. Yeah,
Domi.
Donald Brashear.
Domi. Yeah.
Domi. That's who I think. When I think of Probert, I think of all those games with Domi where Domi was with the Rangers, and Proby was still with the Wings, and it was just as big a bill as the game itself. Like they'd fight one game and then it'd be circled on the calendar and it'd be a big lead up and like pregame interview. All they're talking about is the fight, and then they'd fight in the first and they'd fight in like the third, both times, and then they'd do it again the next game. I remember that for forever.
Insane.
So Drew Doughty.
Drew Doughty.
What's that?
Oh, he hits like one of those Kachuk kids. No, I was going to say, if you read Probert's book, he hated Domi because Domi was like this dog that wouldn't go away. I think that's how he described me. He's like, God, like, really get out of here. And Domi was like, yeah, I got to be the champ. Probert's like,
Jesus, really? Get out of here. Anyway, it's just funny. Contrasting
Yeah.
opinions.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so Drew Doughty.
Drew Doughty. Oh man. Could it be like a
Or
whoever was playing in Calgary, that guy.
Matthew Tkachuk.
yeah.
Oh right. Yeah. Are they rivals? Okay.
Ryan Reeves.
Ooh. Rival. What about plays for San Jose?
No, it's not the guy. It's not the guy who's going bankrupt. It's not him.
Evander Kane, no. I'm talking about
Oh, it's not
Reeves has changed teams 3. Absolutely, yeah.
oh, right.
Those two are, yeah. I was looking at highlights of that, I was looking at highlights of that, and Reeves has changed teams 3 times, and he still goes after Wilson every time. Doesn't
But
matter.
there's nobody in the NHL now, so it's the current ones are pretty simple to get because you can't hit or fight anymore.
Yeah.
So there's like
Yeah.
2 or 3 guys that do it.
So Matthew Tkachuk.
Drew Doughty.
No, he's Drew Doughty's rival, but who's his rival? I'll give you a clue, Summer. We all sat in a rink pub in Adelaide, Australia last year with the Goons because this game was on TV. And we had to see it. And it was the first time in like 3 years where we saw a goalie fight.
Is that it's Cassian.
Yes. Zach Cassian.
Now he ragdolled him. That's right.
Yeah, they went after each other hard.
And then who was the Calgary guy? Was it Talbot or somebody? And
Yeah,
he saw
yeah, it
Smith,
was-
and he's like, I don't really want to do this, but I have
Yeah,
to do
no,
this.
but I have to, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
and
like,
Smith was like, oh, like he was like,
an eye of the tiger on top of the net.
yeah,
I went
Yeah,
straight down the ice.
he was like a, yeah, he was like a dog. He was like a dog going for a pork chop.
Yeah, loves it.
Claude Giroux.
Taking a shift.
Yeah, Summer's head for a shift. Claude Giroux.
Well, see,
I can give you a hint.
the trend we're getting at is our teams that play each other a lot, right?
Yep.
Because generally that's how rivalries are related to proximity. So Claude Giroux, it's Philadelphia, so it's got to be somebody in that old Patrick division. I don't
I'll
know.
give you a hint.
I don't pay
I'll
attention.
give you a
to
hint.
it.
I'll give you a hint. The guy's had like 4 fights in his career, and 2 of them have been against Claude Giroux. And he's a cross-state rival.
Okay, so he's a Penguin. For Pittsburgh, who likes to fight over there?
Well, like I said to you, he's had 4 fights in his career, and
I don't know,
2 of them
Crosby?
were, yeah,
Really?
yeah. In his first two seasons, he fought him twice.
I wonder if they played junior in the same year.
Dion Phaneuf.
Okay,
Who's his rival?
my guess is going to be meaty related, so I'm going to go with Sean Avery.
No,
Oh, really? Really?
no, it's not Sean Avery.
Was it Jared Stoll?
We're on Dion Phaneuf now. Summer.
Oh.
How was your shift, anyways? Was it a good shift?
No. Usual. Go get a hot dog.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Just getting stuff for the coach.
Ew.
So Dion Phaneuf. And again, this one is one where both guys have switched teams a bunch of times, but they always find themselves in fights. There's even lots of NHL tape of them carving each other up.
It's not Avery.
No, it's not Avery. At one point, Phaneuf was in Ottawa, and this guy was in Nashville, and they were going at it.
Subban?
And then another time, the guy that was in Nashville was in Columbus, and Phaneuf was in Toronto, and they were going at it.
Oh, I can't remember. I was trying to think.
His rival is known as Sideshow Bob or the Carrot Top of the NHL.
Oh, Mike Commodore?
Absolutely not.
Sideshow Bob. Darcy Tucker? Darcy Tucker was Sideshow Bob.
Scotty Hartnell.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Scotty Hartnell. There's a beauty clip floating around on NHL mic'd up of him. So they score a goal. They score a goal in the All-Star game, right? It's the All-Star game, and he's up playing on a line with the Sedin twins. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm the third Sedin. I'm the third Sedin. Woohoo, I'm the third Sedin. I'm the third Sedin. I'm the third Sedin. And as he's skating and he's going for the pump by on the bench, the other team's defenseman skating by. He's like, "Suck it, Fanuff, you punk! I'm the third Sedin. I'm the third." Unbelievable. But yeah. So Scotty Hartnell is Fanuffs. And finally, right here behind me, the two captains of these two teams used to beat the crap out of each other.
Jonathan Taves and
He's not there anymore, but he was he was before Pietrangelo. Petro was the assistant
There was
underneath
Nato?
this guy before they traded him to Boston.
Bacchus?
Yes. They used to go
Oh.
after each other non-stop.
Okay.
And those were the lean days for the Blues and the hype days for Chicago, where really that's all I had to watch. He was
Do you
a
guys remember?
he's a feisty captain for a lot of years.
I thought you were going to go with like Bernie Federko and like Doug Wilson. See, because my brain stopped working after like 1996.
Yeah.
So everything that happened from then on, like I don't know or care because it wasn't interesting. I stopped reading. Stopped reading the book.
Yeah, no, I started watching a lot of St. Louis games when Bacchus was the captain, and St. Louis didn't have a lot going for him. Like after Tony Twist and Kelly Chase hung her up, I was like, oh, I don't even know if I want to like this team anymore. But Bacchus brought it back. The only thing about it was the only thing about Bacchus though is he was never the guy. He was never the guy on the team. Like
He was the guy for a few years.
He was never really the high point guy though.
Not the
he was never the guy.
point guy, but he was a point guy.
Nah, he was much more of a 200-foot captain and one that
Power
led by hard work and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I always said we needed to get rid of the American captain and get a Canadian captain, and I wanted them to name Petro, and that would get us a cup, and I was right.
And they listened to you. Yeah.
That's right. It was that one phone call that I made through to Army there, and we got her done, and we got a cup, and then we move on.
We're moving on in life, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. I do have another like little bit of a breakdown of a top 10 list for top 10 rivals in NHL history that I'm sure Langer can expand on most of them, but I don't want to dig too much into it on Langer.
No, go ahead. I'll do my best.
Number 10, the Rangers in New Jersey.
Was that 94 around that time?
That whole, just those two teams over the years.
Yeah.
Being so close in proximity, the Devils coming into the league when they didn't even have a name yet. And Ken Danico was their first draft pick ever. Remember that?
Yeah,
guy?
well, they moved from Colorado in '82, so
Yeah,
means
and
when I
they
think of
were-
the Rangers rivalry, it's when the Islanders showed up.
Yeah, that's number 6.
Yeah,
Because that was like when the Islanders, the battle in New York, when the Rangers lost or when they lost in '79, they lost to the Rangers,
yeah.
and then the
And then Montreal
Islanders, and then the
pumped them in the
Islanders
finals.
went on the run. They went on the run of 4 straight, and then back in the day of that rivalry in the Nassau Coliseum, apparently, like the Rangers, every time the Rangers played in town, the Islanders, like, you know what that barn's like, where they just chirp, eh?
Yeah.
Where they just, so the chant used to be 1940 or 1940, 1940, because that was the last time that the Rangers actually hoisted a cup.
Yeah, before '94.
Yeah, so for that whole 4-year run where the Islanders were just like a wagon, that was the chant that the Rangers heard. And for years after that, so much so that Adam Graves, when they won the cup on his TV interview, he's just like, I'm so happy I don't got to hear 1940 anymore. in games, which is
There's a guy too they used to chant. I can't remember his name. It was like, I think it was in the range. I think in New York at MSG. I think it's Potvin that they carve. Dennis Potvin. Like he hasn't played in like 30 years, and they still carve him.
Yeah, Tavares was saying that
Yeah.
they still chant Potvin's name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's amazing.
Okay. Wow. Move on, people. Jesus.
Capitals Penguins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's current,
the
though,
oldie.
yeah.
That's
That's 05 and onwards.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of first started though back in like the early '80s. Yeah, Pittsburgh Philly is much more of the new rivalry. I find Pittsburgh Philly. They both came into the league the same year.
Yeah, so that naturally they should be a rival.
They were in the next six expansion in '67 because the Blues came in at the same time,
Yeah.
and those two teams in the same series, they had two of the longest games in NHL history. I remember that. I remember exactly where I was, man. Keith Primo scored in the 8th period, something like that. It's the 5th overtime.
And I think Peter Nedved scored in the other one.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. That was Pittsburgh, Washington. Yeah, I got home in the middle of the night. The game was still on. It was a Blue Jays game.
Oh no, I'm talking about that same series. That same series with Philly.
There's hockey at night. put the chips on.
Yeah.
Put the chips out.
Yeah. All right. What else is on that list of yours?
And then we got the Battle of Alberta, started in 1980, and for 5 straight years, Cup went through Alberta.
For
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From
Yeah, that's right.
The rivalry started in 1980 because Edmonton just come into the league. Edmonton just come into the league and in 79-80, and Calgary moved from Atlanta in 1980 as well. So they both came in at the same time. So the rivalry kind of kicked off right there, but it really got heated in the late 80s when Edmonton started their run. And then there was the gaff heard around the world where Steve Smith scored on his own net.
86.
And then, 86. So that was the only year that Edmonton didn't win and beat them. And then in 89, Calgary won their cup.
So from 1983, I just double check because I thought so. From 1983 to 1990, the Stanley Cup went through Alberta.
Yeah, exactly.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's insane. And that whole thing kind of kicked off. So it was that whole decade of the 80s was just.
Yeah.
And like, I lived in Calgary for 10 years, man. If you live in Calgary and you meet somebody and you're like, hey, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm from Edmonton. There's a pause. Like, they wait. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay. And like, you know, and that comes from the hockey teams hating each other. You know, there's just and the football team, like the Canadian football teams,
The
Stampeders
Elks
and
and
the
the
Eskimos.
Stampeders?
Oh yeah, the Elks. I almost said it.
No, you did.
Did I totally say it?
Yeah.
Someone is offended and is writing in as we speak.
The Elks. It doesn't. I can't even. Eskimo sounds so much better.
The Elkimos.
My uncle has a Grey Cup ring with the Elks.
The team formerly known as the Chili Bins. Don't they call them don't they call them Eskies in Australia?
Yeah, it's an
cooler.
team formerly known as the Chili Bins. Absolutely. All right, what else we got?
Alright.
And then I got the Wings and the Avalanche from the early 90s,
The 90s, yep.
right? And that was 5 of 7 cups in the 90s. Was won by one of those two teams, so it was pretty much whoever won that series won the cup that year.
Devils were there somewhere, weren't they?
The Devils were early 90s.
It was the 90s to me was like Dallas.
Well, the 90s started off. No, 90s
Pittsburgh.
started off with 2 Pittsburgh Cups.
Yeah.
The 2 Pittsburgh Cups, then the 2 New Jersey Cups, and there was
Stupid Montreal was in there in '93, and
Yeah, Montreal slipped in the middle of '93 there.
Rangers.
Then you had the back-to-back Devils Cups, and then from then on, it was either Detroit or the Avalanche all the way through until the Cup final. And then I have 1 and 2. They're both the Habs, but all their games against the Leafs and the Bruins. And the Bruins are pretty much rivals with everybody. Like everybody hated the Bruins. I don't know, and I hated the Bruins growing up too. My dad was always a Hartford Whalers fan, and then he became a Bruins fan after that. Ron Francis, that was his guy.
Ron franchise.
And that's going to do it for the second.
Oh.
And I'm done.
And
So here we are. Once again, just before we keep going, thanks for the people that are tuning in tonight. We got Albie and Davey Carr, a couple guys out there watching. Give you a little shout out there. So as we move on into the third period here, I just want to do one last little.
It's amazing what
Pro-
lockdown does. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. All right, continue.
Yeah, we got a whole 6 of them now.
Yeah, man, well, we jumped 600%. Then
Yeah, we jumped 600% from last show. That's absolutely
awesome.
correct.
Yeah, that's
Woohoo.
right. Yep.
So, Langer might be able to touch on this a little bit, but the Hockey House, it being a Hockey House show, what would you say is the biggest rivalry in the Hockey House?
What, like spit
So-
chiclets and riding pine? No, not yet.
No, we'll never get there. Maybe one day.
I don't know, because I'm not really at the house very often, right? I only come on here Tuesdays, so
Yeah, true enough.
I moved out, so I'm kind of just come around for a couple of beers and hang out, and then go head
Do your
home.
laundry.
Yeah,
Have a sandwich. I'm gonna take this milk.
yeah. I just got these packs of cookies and cup noodles here. And some
Okay, so we have
dishwashing
2
detergent.
ice holes and cheese. Would you say that that's the biggest one?
I
That's
don't
what
know. I don't know.
That's
You'd
what
have- you
Davey
can answer
Carr
that.
says.
Yeah, ice holes and cheese.
I don't know.
That's what Davey Carr says, and he's seen most of the games.
Yeah. Yeah, he's.
I
yeah,
would say
he's
it's the sauce and the cocks, man. That's
Well,
a crazy rivalry.
yeah.
They've actually played more playoff games against each other than they have regular season games through the 5.5 seasons that they've been around, which is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyways, just a little tidbit. Getting excited. Moving on to the third, Langer's going to touch on why, today's rivalries, they might be good, but yesterday's rivalries were a hell of a lot better. So we're about to find out, and here he is, the man himself. We're heading to the lounge. The third period is underway.
I like Somerville's. I liked his plan there, so I'm going to go with that. So, starting off with junior hockey, Pete's games were never sold out, ever.
No.
Like it's OHL, and the only time you get a full house is if like a phenom player was coming to town. Like later on, it was guys like when Patrick O'Sullivan and Spezza, Lindros, when guys would show up. But it's about makes a rivalry. It's about playing them lots and the proximity. So, like I mentioned, it's Belleville, Ottawa, Oshawa, Kingston was thrown in there because it's all in that area. So you play them a lot. So you knew it was going to be a burner when Belleville or Oshawa came to town. You knew it was going to be lots of fights and big hits and everything. So those games, tickets were hard to get. So if you get into that, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Because it was rocking and you knew it was going to be amazing.
Yeah. The atmosphere.
Yeah.
Spirit, wow.
Yes.
Mid-January, brutally cold, snowing outside. You park 3 blocks from the rink and you walk down there, and you just walk in, and it's just it's great.
See, I kind of missed out. I kind of missed out on the OHL aspect because we had the Thunder for a little while that were in Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls Thunder, Brian Fogarty.
But then they were taken out of there and became Don Cherry's team. They went
Yeah, Mississauga.
like they. I think the Niagara Thunder moved somewhere else and became a different team in the OHL. And then Mississauga Ice Dogs was made a team, and now they've moved back to my hometown and they built a like really sick barn there now. So now there's like a big barn right in downtown St. Catharines. But we never had an OHL team. And once the Thunder moved away,
Moved to Erie, 96.
what's that?
They moved to Erie in 96.
Okay, so they became the Otters then.
Yeah, they were
So
the
when
Hamilton Steelhawks, then Niagara Falls Thunder, and then the Otters.
Yeah, so when they moved away, we didn't have a team. The closest that a team would have been like, up around Toronto somewhere. Because where was the furthest south? Hamilton? Did Hamilton have a team?
Yeah, Hamilton had the team before. They were the Steelhawks and the Dukes.
Yeah, but no.
Guelph?
But after we would have moved, yeah, Guelph. So
Or
there you go.
London or Windsor, like if you go west.
Yeah, so that was like about a 3-hour drive. So I never really got in. I never really got to experience much of the OHL because the team came back after I moved away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but Junior B was where I got to see a lot of games and see a lot of good players. Like Nathan Horton, I remember him as a 15-year-old playing Junior B, and he was just lighting it up before he ended up going, top 5 pick in the NHL draft. But see, Junior B, and that was the same thing what you were saying, Langer, just fights and just craziness. Every game, hard ticket to get.
Well, when you live in a small community, I mean, I find it interesting. Places like Ottawa and Toronto because they've got other professional sports, but in Peterborough you've got the Lakers lacrosse and you got the Petes, and like if the Lakers they got there because they've been winning a lot, but the Petes were like they've been king for years, like they run the city, and it's you go to a game, it's still that community feeling. So
yeah,
that was pretty good.
Now that you say that, man, Peterborough, man. That's where I remember Peterborough from is lacrosse, playing Peterborough in lacrosse. Because you would have remembered the St. Catherine Golden Eagles, or the St. Catharines Athletics.
We play the A's was the team I remember.
Yeah,
but our main rivalry was Brampton, the Excelsiors, Brooklyn Redmen, and to some extent Six Nations Chiefs. But Brampton and Peterborough used to slug it out for years.
Two names here anymore. The Six.
No, exactly. So for the random lacrosse, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So NHL, obviously being a Leafs fan, just to point it out there, I'm still a Leaf fan. I'm just not a fan of this current team, because I just think they're a bunch of overpaid pussies, and they don't impress me much. I'm gonna go Shania Twain. So anyway, whatever. So it's Montreal. That's the big one, and then Ottawa came later. Now, Ottawa was interesting because, like a lot of Leaf fans get like a bad rap for being brash and arrogant, and I just want to say, for me, like I find that embarrassing as a fan because to me that's sort of a newer generational thing. Because the older fans like myself and like my dad and them, they were never like that. Like, they knew games against Montreal and Boston were in all the original 6. They were going to be tough games. So I never really got that. But when Ottawa came in, it was interesting because you had converted fans and you had a whole younger fan base that was a lot more vocal. I remember that when they came in. And I found Ottawa fans to be kind of brash and, they were kind of like Philly and Boston fans. Like they were always cheering and stuff. So, if you want to see some stuff, go on YouTube and watch the fan fights in the NHL. And it's always Boston and Philly fans fighting each other.
Well, I remember like Philly has crazy fans. I remember I went to it was an NFL game, but it was in Philly, and I was dressed like I am a Washington football team fan. So I was dressed in Washington football team fan regalia, and as I got out of the cab, it just started. As soon as the door opened, it was go the F back to Washington,
Yeah.
get back in the cab. They're throwing shit at me and like, just welcome to Philadelphia. You are here. Yeah.
So I mean, like you, my fond memories of the rivalries were the old Norris division. So the Leafs play the Blues, the Hawks, Minnesota, Detroit. Like
Yeah.
all the time. So it was great because like, I don't know what it was, if it was different, because it seems like divisional games now, it doesn't seem like like you would play them almost every week. It was crazy.
Well, except for this season.
But there was, now you'd play Ottawa like the first two games and you wouldn't see them again until like March. It was like,
I absolutely, that was one of the things that I did like about this past season. That there was like, you played the division 8 times. Like every game was kind of like a 4-pointer.
Yeah.
And that's why I used to love about back in the day the old Norris division. And those were the teams that I enjoyed watching because they were the only ones that you get to watch. And when, for me, like you said, like it's weird that I'm a St. Louis fan now, but when I was younger, it was Toronto on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And they were playing either St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit, or Minnesota most of the time. They were playing
and then you
against
get the weird Saturday night where like the King, like LA would be in town, or like, you'd be like, who's that? Like, I've never seen that jersey before, because there's only like 5 teams that I ever see.
Well, that was my favorite thing about going to see a game back in the day too. Is now they wear the colored one at home.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. Right?
Where they used to always wear the white at home, and you'd get to see the other colors of the other jerseys as they came in.
Now they're all white.
Yeah, so I don't know. I wish they'd go back to the way it was. I kind of like the idea that they have extra jerseys now, like where they wear like 4 or 5 different kits.
For those who don't know what kit is, he's meaning uniform.
Yeah,
you soccer
sorry.
people out there probably know what he's talking about, but for the hockey fans, he's talking about uniforms.
Yeah, I'm too adapted to this side of the world.
If you don't use it, buddy, you lose it.
I'm saying kits and unis. Yeah.
Yeah, and bro and so I was fortunate enough to start going plan here. So I remember once there was a game on. It was a hockey day in Canada. They started doing that.
Yep.
So I totally believe with you with the uniform things. They used to wear blue darks at home, like a long time ago. Then they switched to whites, and then they switched back. I think it's dumb. Being stupid. Anyway, so it was a hockey day in Canada game, probably about 20 years ago, and I got a phone call from my dad. He's like, because the Leafs were playing Montreal. It was the afternoon game. It was weird. They were playing like 2:00. So we were fired up at like 10 in the morning and everything ready to go for a party. And Dad's like, I've got 2 tickets from somebody. Do you want them? So I asked my buddy Mike. I'm like, we hopped in the car, the Pontiac Fiero, and drove to Toronto. And it was crazy because I'd never seen a rival game. I've seen Leafs play other teams, but to see Montreal was like, wow, this is a big deal. And I remember going outside for a dart, and literally it was like one side was all Montreal, and then the Leafs were all on one side. It was crazy. It was like there was this invisible divider where you didn't mingle. But just seeing the iconic colors of like the Canadians and the Leafs jerseys mixed in the crowd was pretty awesome, because there's a lot of Montreal fans in Toronto and Ontario, right? So
it's cool how it's cool how that's like replicated in like an age-old historic story too, like the hockey sweater.
Yeah. And and that goes back further with history with Upper Canada, Lower Canada, you know, French and English, and like there's a lot of stuff going on in there. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a lot deeper than say Arizona versus Carolina, that powerhouse rivalry. Where you can't miss hockey on TV.
That rivalry that's got them in such a good state that they want to actually kick their team out.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. You want to pay rent, that's fine. We don't want you here. Just go find a new home. Get lost. We built the rink specifically for hockey, but go away. We're done with you.
That's so bad.
You just traded away your whole team in the offseason. Just go away.
Yeah.
But
Jerry's gonna do what he can. I'm like, there's this rink ready to rock and roll in Quebec City, but
yeah, I know. They gotta go, man. They gotta go back to Quebec.
So I was just thinking about old school rivalries. Like I think now is too many teams, and people would argue with that. I guess whatever region you live in, there are rivalries. Like I think of when I think of the states, I don't think of hockey rivalries. I think of like college basketball and NFL and you know what I mean. Like there's other sports. So
I think of the NFL. I think of the Yankees versus the Red Sox. Like
yeah,
I don't think of like as I have two American teams over my shoulder. But
but I guess so. Like Rangers, Boston. Like but I don't know. When I started seeing teams popping up in the Sun Belt, I'm like, Florida, Tampa. I guess so. They're kind of like in the same state, but I just think there's a lot of teams. I think there's a lot of. You look at the original six, even up to the 21 teams. Like they play each other a lot. Like you get an 80-game season back then with 21 teams. Yeah. You're playing guys a lot.
Yeah, I remember in my youth it was always 21 to 24 teams at max. Yeah.
And you go back to the original six. I mean, the rivalries are so fierce because you're fighting for a job. If you get hurt, someone's ready to take your role. So like those guys are playing for work. They're playing for pride. They're playing for something. Whereas I just don't find that intensity today. Like I know it's a bad example, but for example, I can't just because the first one that came to my mind is when not Matt Cook, when what's his name, when Steve Moore went after or tried to hit
Bertuzzi. Oh yeah. That whole incident though.
But like everybody knew something was going to happen. Like everybody knew, and you waited for it. And that wasn't really a rivalry, but there was intensity. You knew something was going to happen.
Yeah, you knew. Yeah, it was like a bomb about to go off. You knew something was happening. There was just too much, and there was like a week build up to it as well.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what happened to Somerville. It's one hell of a shift. Because I wanted to get his so the last thing is I wanted to get his ideas on this as well as yours. So international hockey. So I'm sad, and he brought up the rivalry between the Russians and Canada. Now the big reason that became a rivalry is because the Russians weren't in the NHL. They were like this mythical sort of elusive.
Yeah, there wasn't any players in yet.
No, so you didn't know anything because they played over there. They were playing internationally. They were crushing everyone. So that was what was so amazing when they showed up here because it was like we've heard of them. Now we get to watch them. So when we had Canada, we're playing teams against players that we'd never seen before. Other than the WHA bringing in some Swedes and stuff. But that's what made the rivalry, and it was cultural and political. The Soviet Union and capitalism versus socialism. So, but I kind of think it's kind of died out, and especially now that the NHL isn't a big fan of going to Olympics, and we never get to see our best on best players anymore. Like it's kind of, I don't know, dude. I can't get up for a bunch of second and third liners. They're good playing in a world championship when it's not. Like, are we ever going to see McDavid and Crosby play together? Like
I hope so.
Are we ever going to get, are we ever going to get to see them go up against Kucherov and Ovechkin and,
I really hope so.
And it's just so sad because it could be a whole generation where we really could have a rivalry internationally, but they're getting older and stuff's changing.
The team would be so good. We made it a couple weeks back, on the Olympic show, but wow. I hope we get a chance to see that because, not only that, but some of the other countries are even getting enough guys now. And hey, welcome back, Capitan. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, bit of an accident on the ice.
Oh, there you are.
What happened? You dropped the hot dog?
No.
Somebody got their eye split open and had to get bandages and some ice.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that boy. At least you fixed them up there, eh?
We were just talking. We moved into the international rivalry and how I just don't think it's. I mean, it's still there, but it's there because of history. We were talking about it in '72. You'd never seen the Soviet Union before, and they came over, and Europeans were very. It was kind of obscure for them to play in North America, but now they're everywhere. Are we ever going to see a best on best again? Like as they say in a punch, are we going to see McDavid and Crosby and McKinnon play together? You know,
I
I
hope
mean,
so.
I saw the project for the Winter Olympics coming up 2020. And that line was put together.
But are they going to go?
Insane.
But is it
where is the
actually
Winter
going to
Olympics
happen?
next year? Where is it
China,
next year?
isn't
And
it?
where did this whole madness start from?
Yeah.
Well, now it's all safe in the epicenter, right? Because it's all rippled out to the rest of the world. So,
Right. Eye of the storm, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, well, I don't know what happened in the Summer Olympics. Like, it started to look a little bit like they might can it. Athletes getting sick, sort of left, right, and center, and then either they stopped reporting it or there weren't any more. There was a point where they were talking about maybe the Olympics altogether. I was like, wow, okay, shit.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of surprised that they went ahead with it, to be honest. But
Yeah,
it is what it
no
is.
crap.
Yeah.
I hope we get to see the best on best, though.
Well, it's hard. Again,
Yeah.
the rivalries are based on the past, and they're based on history. I mean, obviously, Canada, States, Canada, Russia. I mean, for me, I'm gonna bring it back to here. I can't get fired up by pride. Like I don't understand. I really don't. I'm not being a dick. I don't understand test matches. What are you testing? That you're good enough to win? Like unless there's a tournament or it means something, a one-off game against somebody means nothing to me. Absolutely no, absolutely nothing. If we played Finland in hockey and lost, I would not care at all. If it was Olympics
Yeah,
or World
no.
Cup or something where it's like this means something,
Yeah, then I'd be gutted.
who cares?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah, but that's the thing though. In North America, American East eccentric, maybe that's not the right word, but like you know, the rest of the world cares about the world. Your exhibition points all count towards that ranking, right? So when you're talking about who's
Who's the best?
in North America, we can
give-
give a shit about the
Yeah.
KHL, the
Or who
Swedish,
cares?
Finnish elite league, the German leagues, right? That's right.
Yeah.
Because the NHL is the best of the best.
Who's the top team in the NHL?
Yeah.
Um,
But like Langer was saying, like when the whole Canada Russia thing was going on, it wasn't the best against the best. It was the best of North America against the best of North America, and the whole Russian team. None of those guys were even in the NHL yet. There was
Well,
no
yeah.
Russians.
Team Canada didn't have any Americans on the team, though, but
What's that?
No,
What's that?
Canada. Team North America, yeah.
No, but even at that time, though,
it was not Team Canada. It was the best NHL players.
Yes, I know it was the best NHL players, but in the NHL, you didn't have anybody else from any European countries in the NHL at that time. So all the other teams, the Finland, the Swedens, those guys only played in Finland. They did not play in the NHL yet. There wasn't like an Esatikanen and crap like that. Like those guys weren't here yet. So, you know what I mean?
They're good. Yeah. Well, that's how we got all our names, right? You know, I mean, we're made up of.
Right.
Is that a rude comment to make?
But yeah, anyway, so back to the rivalry thing. I think it's at risk of dying if they don't do more best on best stuff.
right.
Cup
They
thing,
did was in.
and that was kind of a joke, to be honest. I
I
think
think I caught.
That was cool because you got to see Matthews for the first
I didn't
time.
care because it was so like,
I thought it was kind
Yeah,
damn it, David.
but
Yeah, we beat Team Europe.
the young guns, and I didn't really, but it was good.
who beat the young?
Team Europe. Yeah,
And Team
was it Team America or Team North?
Like,
There was
Yeah,
there was
it
the
was a
USA
bit-
USA Canada North America was under 23s.
I think
So
they
you
just
had
need to bring
McKinnon,
back the original
Matthews.
format. They just bring back the original format. Canada, USA, Czech Republic.
Do you guys remember the World Cup when Lemieux captained the team? That was a good tournament. That was what, 96? They had like the ugliest trophy ever though. That it was like a big glass monstrosity. It was
I
disgusting.
do remember.
That was up
Yeah.
to Salt Lake City. Austin State's in that one.
Well, probably just because.
Okay. Well, you two guys, one of you is going for a shift. I'm the only one consistently on the pine today.
Sorry.
Like,
Yeah.
the two
I'll
you get-
happily pass my hot dog duties over next time. Not a problem.
Yeah. If one of you
Hey,
isn't getting a
Bunchy,
hot
hot
dog,
dog.
the other one's getting a donut.
That's right. Extra mustard. Third.
So what else do you got to clip along here in the third period with, Langer? All right.
Reiterate. The rivalries now, I don't think there's as good as they were.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, man, I agree. Totally.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
is
Some good. Eventually.
Because I can't, again, as much as I want to stay up late, you know, Phoenix
fired.
it up against Nashville.
That's right.
You know,
Everybody's favorite
rivalry.
rivalry.
Tampa Bay
Facing it against
stop.
bother me.
But you know, I don't want to see Carolina.
Carolina. Grinding
The
it out.
Seattle Kraken. There's a big rivalry coming. The Seattle Kraken versus the Vancouver Canucks. Look out, folks. The Highway Series.
That Buffalo Carolina series.
Game 7.
The Seagull Series. That's what that is.
Those are big.
Oh my gosh.
History right there.
Some good series.
I want to see Wendell Clark fight Willie Platt.
Or Nick Fatigue.
Make it happen.
North Division.
All right, is that going to do the
Right.
third? The third period.
All
right.
Technology.
Yeah, it's infected the podcast here. It's getting a little choppy. Having tough time breathing. Somerville is already bailed out for the third time. And I think with that, us having the technical difficulties as they are, we're going to call this episode an episode. Luckily, we're going to come back in a couple days. And we have a very special guest, the Botany Swarm goaltender, ranked number 1 in the NZIHL. We're going to be talking road hockey, and we're going to have Matt Canaday on the show. So until next time, we'll catch you later on Riding Pine.
Cause I'm riding the pine, riding the pine. It's Chronicles of the Fourth Line. I'm just sitting on a bench with two good friends of mine. That's why I'm riding the pine, riding the pine.
Well, one good friend.
Bushy Langer in summertime.
Kind of. Summer's gone.